just ran to the men's room. He'll be right back.
Lunches if you want to talk to you about.
Okay. Yeah, I've just gone through a bunch. It's getting crazy.
Whenever you're ready, Bryson, just let us know.
Ready.
Mr. Page, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning. The Board of Liquor License Commissioners for Baltimore City proceedings will begin. The board is now in session. If you're in possession of any type of electronic device, please place said device on the off or silent mode during proceedings. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, preliminary matter on the AM docket. Case number 1, Lori Richards and Crystal Keats, KR Entertainment LLC, 300 South Exeter Street. An application to transfer ownership. This matter has been postponed, and all interested parties will be notified as to the new date and time. I call the case of Michael Georgalis Samos at McHenry Row LLC, treated as Samos Greek Island Grill, 1703 Whetstone Way. This is a Class D beer and wine license. An application to transfer ownership and location of the Class D beer and wine license presently located at 1602 Whetstone Way to 1703 Whetstone Way with outdoor table service. Please come forward.
Good morning, everybody. This being the first case, and for those of you who have not been before the board, I just want to remind everyone that we are both televised and on the record. So when the case is called, if you'll come forward, please. Everyone who's going to testify will be sworn, and then when you testify or speak, if you would lean into these microphones and first give us your name and spell it for our reporter here to my left before you testify, I'd appreciate it. Counsel?
Good morning, Commissioners. Justin Williams from the law firm Rosenberg Martin Greenberg. I'm joined this morning with my colleague Caroline Hecker and Michael Georgalis, the licensee applicant.
Good morning. So what, would you raise your right hand, please?
Sure.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay.
With your permission, we proceed by way of proffer.
Yes, please.
This is an application to approve the transfer of a license and ownership and location of a Class D license from 1602 Whetstone Way to across the street in the McHenry Row development to 1703 Whetstone Way. It's a brief background on the history of the license. It is currently being held by Piazza McHenry Row LLC for its use at 1602 Whetstone Way. Active alcoholic beverage operations were conducted at Piazza through April 30th, 2017, when Piazza vacated its premises to make way for Iron Rooster in McHenry Row. Commissioner Mitch Rusciani remembers the Iron Rooster and asked about the chicken and waffles when they approved that transfer. In the Liquor Board staff's review of the license transfer, there was an issue raised about when Piazza ceased operations. We've included in the packet of materials given to you by Ms. Hecker some invoices showing that Piazza was operating through the end of April 2017. Additionally, the landlord provided information to the board staff to further confirm their end of operations date. For background on the licensed premises, it's known as 1703 Whetstone Way and is located within the McHenry Row Shopping Center in Locust Point. McHenry Row first opened in 2011 to much fanfare with the Harris Teeter luxury apartment building. Because of its proximity to Interstate 95 and walkable amenities, it's been very successful. A second apartment building known as the Porter Street Apartments opened in September 2017. In the third phase, it includes office building at Marriott Courtyard. broke ground at the end of 2017. In your folder, there's a aerial photo, in case you're not familiar with McHenryville. I'm sure you all are, and been through. The licensed premises is the Samos.
Could you slow down just a
Sorry.
second?
The licensed premises is Samos at McHenry Row. It consists of 1,600 square feet, and it's been leased to Samos since 2016. The Samos Creek Island Grill, which first opened its first location in 2013 at the Shops at Canton Crossing, is a casual dining spin-off of the original Georgalis family-owned Samos in Greektown, known for its fresh Greek salads, signature house dressing, and souvlaki platters. The restaurant opened its second location in McHenry Row in 2016. There's an article from the BBJ giving you background on Samos Creek Island Grill if you're not familiar with how well it's received. As indicated in the floor plan, the restaurant space consists of approximately 1,600 square feet. There's interior seating for 33 patrons at tables and countertops. There is no separate bar area. The outdoor seating is specifically provided for and allowed by the Planning and Development Ordinance. There's outdoor seating proposed as shown in the floor plan for 20 patrons at tables in the patio area and additional 24 seats on a sidewalk that's privately owned by the landlord. I've included in the folder of exhibits a menu that shows Samos's offerings. They offer fresh ingredients, traditional Greek lunch, and a dinner menu, and it's known for its casual, modern setting. There's a review from the Baltimore Sun for your review as well. The applicant, Michael Georgalis, serves as the restaurant general manager. He's over 15 years' experience in the restaurant industry and is responsible for both the Canton Crossing and the McHenry Row locations. He's integrally involved with day-to-day operations.
It was formerly owned by an LLC, right?
The Samos?
No, that's
The license,
The
not
li-
the license.
yes.
Right, it was owned
And-
by Piazza at McHenry Row LLC.
Okay, and the principal,
Of that was Mike, I don't remember his name. David Corsetti.
okay. And he's selling it to Mr. Georgalis?
Yes.
Yes, okay. And you have been working there for how long, sir?
I started at my father's restaurant around 2005 or so, 2004, 2005. So I was working with my father for about 8 or 9 years before we opened our location in Canton. And then I was there for about 3 or 4 years until we opened the location over at Locust Point.
Okay. And so you're well familiar with our rules and regulations?
Sure, I actually completed the course, the alcohol awareness course last week.
Okay. I'm sorry, Mr. Williams, I didn't mean to interrupt.
That's all. Well, so to follow up on that, Mr. Georgalis has an MBA and has worked in the restaurant industry his whole life. While he has not held a license himself for the Canton Crossing or this location, he's familiar with the rules and regulations of the Liquor Board and pledges to abide by them. As far as the factors you should consider in granting the transfer of ownership and location of the license, there's a public need and desire for the license, as indicated by the Locust Point Civic Association letter of support. It's in your file. There's also a petition signed by 200 residents and nearby residents of the Locust Point and McHenryville community, all saying they support the license transfer. Although there are other restaurants in Locust Point, Samos is focused on traditional Greek. Food is unique, and the transfer license will not have an adverse effect on existing licensees. Regarding the potential commonality and uniqueness of services or products to be provided by the applicant's business, again, Samos' unique restaurant concept and the addition of beer and wine sales at the restaurant will add an amenity to the residents of the McHenryville community. There should not be an impact on general health, safety, or welfare of the community. The hours of operation will remain the same as it has. They'll close at 9 o'clock. There's no bar area. They're only serving beer and wine.
It's essentially moving across the street, right?
Exactly right. So impact should be minimal. In light of those reasons, we ask you to grant the transfer.
Did the original Samos in Highland Town, and then this, is there another? Or is-
And it's the original one in Greektown.
Uh-huh.
That's my father opened 40 years ago, actually. Then we opened in Canton, and then Locust Point. It's just those three.
Oh, okay, 3, all right. I thought I heard you said there was another, but I wasn't sure. Okay, Commissioners, do you have questions?
None?
I do not.
Do you have anything further?
Oh, no problem.
Okay, the board will receive the file containing the various exhibits. On the basis of the materials contained in the application, the exhibits received today, the proffers from council, and your testimony, sir, I would vote to approve the transfer of ownership and location.
Thank you.
In looking at the documents, especially your petition of over 200 signatures stating that they want you in this community, along with the Mr. Greg Cilio of the community, I mean, it sounds like, it looks like you did the right thing. You went out and talked to the folks and got them to support you. I agree.
Thank you.
And I concur.
Thank you.
Good luck to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yes. I'd like to call exhibits for the record. Applicant's Exhibit 1, business plan. Thank you.
Latrice Fawkes and Barbara Key, Roosevelt and Associates, Inc., trade name pending, 291 South Pulaski Street. This is a Class D, Class B, beer, wine, and liquor license. This is a Class BD7, beer, wine, and liquor license, an application to transfer ownership. Please come forward.
Can you identify yourselves, please?
Yes, my name is Latrice Folks, and I am the licensee applicant.
And
My name is Barbara Key. I'm a licensed B applicant.
thank you. Ladies, would you raise your right hands, please?
Will you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So, Ms. Folks, there was a hardship extension in this, wasn't there?
Yes, there was for John Zorzit.
Uh-huh. And so, can you fill us in a little background on the history of what has taken place?
So basically, I made an agreement with Norino Properties, John Zorzit, for the transfer of ownership of the license. I know that.
You haven't done that yet? You're waiting for it to be approved
That's
before you
correct.
do that? And do you have a date for settlement with him?
Well, we have until March to be settled within our agreement.
And you anticipate that you'll be able to do that?
Yes.
Okay. What is your background?
I currently work at Johns Hopkins University. It's me and my mom.
He is your mom?
Yes.
Okay. And what is your job at Hopkins?
I work in billing.
Uh-huh.
So-
Are you going to be working in this location as well?
Correct.
Okay. And your mother's going to work there also?
Yes.
Do you have any background in the liquor industry, ma'am?
No. I
Okay.
come from a health profession.
You're also a health professional?
Yes.
Okay. So are you all going to get some training?
Yes.
Yes, we are.
And-
We're enrolling for classes that they're offering for us to be able to become mixologists and also business management training.
Okay, and you're going to have, get yourself certified with the,
Serve safe. Yes.
Yes.
okay? And familiarize yourselves with the rules and regulations of the City Liquor Board?
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, our staff is very helpful if you have questions, so you can certainly contact these folks, particularly here to my right, and they will assist you with that if this is approved. And I believe that this location, so it's been closed, or was it ever,
Yes, it's been closed since 2015.
okay. And are you going to make any renovations or anything like that, or?
Yes, it's currently under renovation as we speak. So we just got heat and hot water.
That's important this month. It's been an unusual month. Okay, so we have a letter from the Carlton Ridge Community Association that was just handed to me. And are you familiar with this?
Yes, yes, I am.
And I assume this is a letter in support?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Just one at a time, guys. One person answer, it makes it a little easier for the transcript.
So this seems to have certain agreements that you've reached with them.
Yes.
What we would typically call a memorandum of understanding here before our board. So are you in agreement with these various limitations that they have suggested?
Yes.
Okay, and you're familiar with this?
Yes.
So if we were to approve your license, subject to this, to the extent that these are enforceable, they would be a limitation on your license. Do you understand that?
Yes, I do.
Okay. You understand as well, ma'am?
Yes.
Okay, the commissioners have questions?
None?
I just have one question, which is, I don't, I think I saw something in the report, in inspector's comments about you seeking live entertainment. Is that just an error?
Yeah, that's an error.
right.
Yeah.
No questions then. Thank you.
Okay. On the basis then of the materials contained in your application, the letter of support, which I'm going to characterize as an MOU, your testimony this morning, I would vote to approve the transfer of the license to you two ladies subject to the MOU.
I agree, and then, again, I commend you, and I hope others hear this. When you interact with the community before you come before us, it makes our job so much easier. I agree.
And I concur wholeheartedly with my colleagues, and obviously, the letter from this association, they're very engaged, so I encourage you to remain engaged with them. So, best of luck.
Yeah, good luck, ladies.
Thank you.
I call the exhibits for the record. Applicant Exhibit 1, MOU between applicants and Coral Ridge Community Association dated January 1st, 2018. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Amy Thomas and Kwong Min, Mim and Min, Inc., trading as Old Federal Hill Liquors, 1230-32 Light Street. This is a Class A beer, wine, and liquor license. Here for request to transfer, for a transfer hardship extension under Article 12-1705B. Please come forward.
Are you Mr. Everett?
Yep. Good morning, Your Honor. Good morning, Commissioners. Brian Everett on behalf of the applicant, transferee, Kyung Min.
Good morning. Would you raise your right hand, ma'am, please?
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay. You want to explain to us what the need is for the hardship extension?
Yes, Your Honor. The license holders currently, I had to prompt them to get the inventory done for the bulk sale permit. And we got that in, and simultaneously, I applied for this hardship extension because I didn't receive the inventory from them till the second week of December. And in the meantime, we just received the UNO about the first week of December, and I didn't feel that there was enough time to give my clients the time to get all the documents together and make sure that there are no errors or any additional documentation required. So I requested the hardship extension. My understanding is that the bulk transfer permit has been received by your office as of December 22nd. Now, I was away from the 21st to the 3rd, so I didn't have any opportunity to follow up with them on that. But I have all the documents with me today. Directly following this proceeding, I'm going to go to the liquor board, drop off all the documents. Hopefully everything's okay. However, I am requesting 45 days to make sure that if there are any errors or additional documents required, my clients have an opportunity to meet those requirements.
You might want to wait till tomorrow because I'm informed that the liquor board may be closing early today because of a water break.
Oh my gosh.
The office is officially closed.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Apparently, something is leaking
Okay,
over there.
well,
so.
I'll take care of that tomorrow then.
Okay, but Mr. Page, we have the documents that Mr. Everett has proffered, the bulk transfer.
The bulk transfer has not been in the file yet. We haven't received it.
I called the board this morning. They said that they received it on the 22nd. It just hasn't made it to the file yet.
Okay, appreciate that. And the foot dragging, if there's any, is on the part of the sellers, is that right?
Right. There was, I had to prompt them a couple of times to get the inventory done, but they finally did, and I got it in, and as a result, we had the bulk transfer permit.
Okay. Commissioners, other questions?
None.
I don't.
Okay. Well, thank you, sir. Do you have anything you want to add, ma'am? Okay. On the basis then of the letter and the submissions and the proffer from council, I would vote to approve the extension.
I concur.
I vote to approve as well.
Thank you very much, Your Honor.
No exhibits
Commissioners.
for the file.
Good luck.
Severed, I can see down here.
That's fine.
Number 8. Is that what we're doing? Waywood. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, we're going to go out of order. We're going to call case number 8, Pull the Trigger, LLC. James DePino and Michael McDivitt, Pull the Trigger, LLC, trading as Waywood Southern Bar and Kitchen, 1117-21 South Charles Street. This is a Class B beer, wine, and liquor license here for violation of Rule 12-1604, small c 3, 51% food receipts required for a Class B license in the 46th Legislative District on September the 29th, 2017, in violation of Rule 4.16, illegal conduct on September the 29th, 2017. Please come forward.
Counsel.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Peter Previs on behalf of the licensees. With me today is Mr. Michael McDivitt, one of the licensees and the owner of the premises, and Mr. Robert Jones, the manager.
Can I ask you gentlemen to raise your right hands, please?
1 second, Mr. Chairman. Community person.
Oh, okay, well, there's, apparently there are others going to testify at Brazen, so let's give them a second. Please come forward and raise your right hands.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Before we begin, Mr. Previs, would you, has Mr. McDevitt, have you ever been represented by the law firm Whiteford, Taylor and Preston?
I have.
I'm with that law firm. Do you have any objection to me sitting on this case? Okay, thank you. You may proceed.
I think that's the first time we had an actual yes?
Once or twice.
answer. Oh, okay. It's my first time. I'm sorry. Mr. Chairman, we admit the violations. It's certainly our form and our compliance with the form under oath that gave rise to the issue. I do.
I realize that this goes back a ways.
Yes, sir.
So I guess we're interested in knowing, and I will note for the record, I don't think there have been any prior violations.
No, sir.
But we'd be interested in knowing how the licensees are attempting to address the problem.
Thank you, sir. And I just want to note that when this license was created, pre-1998 statute, there was a 46th alcoholic beverage district and a 47th alcoholic beverages district, which was the old 46 was East Baltimore and 47th was South Baltimore. And when this license, the B license, was created, there was no 51% food requirement for South Baltimore.
And what year are we talking about?
Pre-1998. Ms. Russell, do you have the cards to show the initiation of the license? Okay.
I'll take your word for it.
Yes, sir. And I have a copy of the old 6201 that shows that in East Baltimore there was the 51% food, but in South Baltimore there wasn't, so, and therefore it defaulted to the regular definition, which was 40%. With that said,
20%, however.
yeah, it was at 20%, and they take the filling out of that form very seriously, and they're not going to fudge it. And what has occurred is Mr. McDevitt's been in the food business for many, many years. He has other endeavors. He's a very talented person, but he has food service business. When they bought this business, they settled in around January 2016, and when we were before the board, we indicated that it would no longer be the C&R Pub. It would be Wayward Southern Kitchen, and that the focus would be to move this from more of a tavern operation to a restaurant, and they have been doing that. The premises is, they do take this very seriously, and they're working very diligently to get their food sales up. They're currently at around...
Need to sell less liquor.
Sell less liquor. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. If you drop the price of liquor, that may not help the situation. The spirit of this is to operate as a restaurant.
Business.
Yes, sir. So we're about at 32. I have a copy of their reports for the last quarter. This is proprietary. I would ask that it not be part of the record, but we can show the board.
If you want to show us, that's fine.
Okay, I'm sorry, 3 copies. It has all their costs of labor and everything else in here. But for the combined quarter, Mr. McDevitt, if you can help me out here. Or Mr. Jones. Yep. Direct the board to the
Well, I see down at
food,
the bottom of the second
we have
page,
beer, we have,
major
yeah.
group sales.
Major group sales. So 31.8%. We realistically believe that come March, that number will be at 40. Is that right, Mr. McDevitt?
Correct.
And that we will be able to.
So this is through the end of the year?
Yes, sir. through the end of December 31, 17. It's an ongoing process.
Well, as you know, it's the law, so
Yes,
we
sir.
don't have much
Right.
choice. We have to enforce it, but I understand that it's not an easy thing to go from 20% to 51% overnight.
Right. Appreciate that.
Do the commissioners have questions?
I do not.
No, I don't.
Okay. Anything further, Mr. Previs?
No, sir.
Hear from these folks.
Good morning. My name is Barbara Valeri, Valeri. I'm a resident of the Federal Hill, Otterbein area. And my comments pertain to the business model that Waywards is operating under. Again, like some of the other bars in the neighborhood, they have a kitchen, they have a menu. The kitchen is not open till closing time, and so the premises is operated as a bar for how many hours after the kitchen closes? 3 hours? 4, perhaps? They participate in bar crawls. So looking at the business model that they have and the fact that they are promoting sales of liquor heavily rather than food, I don't see this establishment turning around and meeting the 51% requirement. They're trying. The numbers are improving, but I would ask as a resident of the area that they be prohibited from participating in bar crawls until we see some significant improvement in the numbers, the food sales numbers.
I don't know.
Otherwise, we have another sham restaurant in the area.
Well, as you understand, that in order to be renewed, they're going to have to meet the statutory requirements.
Well, they talked about catering, and perhaps the catering business, I don't know if you're heavily engaged in that now, but the catering business could add to their food sales. But again, they have this interpartnership relationship with Banditos and the 101 Deli Bar across the street. So if you're catering to other restaurants or bars in the area, your food sales can be increased significantly, but not in terms of a true restaurant.
Yes. Okay. Did you want to add something, sir?
My only point is there are transfer costs if you're.
Mike, please.
Yes. If you're supplying
Larry,
food.
could you state your name, please?
Henry Valeri, same spelling, Valeri. My question is about transfer costs between Banditos, for example, and Waywards. Are you supplying food to Banditos? Okay, then I have the. Okay. Okay. No
Anything further?
Nope.
Okay. Just respond briefly, Ms. Valeri. I'm not sure we have the authority to do what you ask us to do on the violation, but I understand what you're saying. Any response?
None other than the staff at Waywards did meet with the Valerias and were very open and honest and forthcoming and showed them the operation in the kitchen. And were very honest about exactly how things were run. And we plan to meet that by renewal time, Your Honor. Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry.
That's okay. All right. So based on the materials that were submitted with respect to these violations, the admissions that were made by counsel on behalf of the licensees, and testimony heard, I would find a violation of alcoholic beverages, Article 12-1604C3 on September 29, 2017, and a violation of Rule 4.16 on September 29, 2017. This being the first such violation, but recognizing that you're a good ways from compliance, I would impose a fine as to the first violation in the amount of $300, and as to the second violation, the amount of $300, and I would give you 30 days to pay that. There's an administrative fee as well.
I second that decision. You're working with the community, and it appears that you're trying to get to where you need to be. So I concur. $300 is fine per item.
You make the findings of violation as well?
Yes,
Commissioner?
fine. Yeah, 300 per violation.
Yeah, I too find the violation of the two, of the rule and the statute, and would agree with the imposition of the fine of $300 on each.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Good luck. Gentlemen, I hope you can come into compliance.
Yeah, with regard to the financials.
Oh, yes, here, you can have those back.
Appreciate that.
Yes, I'd call exhibits for the record.
No.
Board Exhibit 1, 2017 food form for 1117 through 21 South Charles Street. Board Exhibit 2, food sales SOP. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
William Hughes III, Barracuda LLC, trading as Barracuda, 1230 East Ford Avenue. This is a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license. Here for violation of Rule 4.16, illegal conduct, on September the 22nd, 2017. Violation of Rule 4.16, illegal conduct, October the 13th, 2017. Please come forward.
Is there an attorney?
No, sir.
No, okay. So I'm going to ask everyone who's going to testify to raise their right hand, please.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, are you Mr. Hughes, sir?
I'm Mr. Hughes.
Mr. Hughes, so you're charged with these violations on September 22, 2017. You are familiar with the violation charges?
Absolutely, sir.
Do you admit that it occurred, or do you want to deny it?
I totally admit it occurred.
Okay. Do you want to explain to us what was going on?
I do. The original violation, I was outside with some dining, some tables, and we had complaints, and the board showed up, the liquor board showed up and told me not to do that. So I cleared out the tables and stopped doing it. Moving forward, unfortunately, I thought, which was probably my first mistake, I thought that if I had a lease from the people who own the property, because it's private property, that therefore my catering license would cover it. It wasn't the case, and I was informed of those things. And moving forward, I got the full support of the Community Association. I have a zoning board hearing on the 23rd. It was supposed to be the 9th, and it got moved back because the police needed the room. For the outdoor zoning for seating, and then of course I will come back to you after that has occurred. But I'm totally aware that what I did was outside the lines, and just moving forward to rectify that, as soon as possible. And since then, I have had signs posted outside, no alcoholic beverages. Since the second time the gentleman came out, there's been no one outside. Everything's been put away. I understood the severity of it. Obviously, it took me more than once to understand that.
Fooled you twice, huh? And I'll note for the record that the license has been there coming up on 3 years, and there have been no prior violations.
Yes, sir.
Who from the inspector team was present there? Mr. Fosler, do you want to speak? Okay.
Sorry.
Just want to know if they were cooperative with you.
Chief Inspector Mark Foster, Baltimore City Liquor Board. Yes, sir. Yes, Chairman.
They were?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And nothing else to add? Okay.
Sir?
You may.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners.
Your name, please.
Tim O'Malley. Mr. Hughes does, as he has indicated, has a hearing September 23rd before the zoning board, has overwhelming community support for the outdoor dining from the Civic Association, all the elected officials, as well as Greg Cilio from Locust Point Civic Association. He was just totally unaware. He thought his catering license would suffice to do outdoor dining. Fully now understands that that's not the case and is in full compliance and will be in full compliance going forward.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Commissioners have any questions?
No.
Okay. On the basis of the materials contained here with the charges, the testimony here, the admission of the violations, and the testimony from the Chief Inspector, I would find a violation of Rule 4.16 on September 22, 2017, and a violation of Rule 4.16 on October 13, 2017. I would, recognizing it's the first violation, impose a fine as to each of those violations of $250, and I'd give you 30 days to pay.
I concur with the decision as well as the fines.
I can concur with the findings of the violation and the imposition of the fines.
Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
See you down here, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd call exhibits for the record. Board Exhibit 1, Investigation Report, Agent John Chrisomalis. Board Exhibit 2, Investigation Report, Chief Inspector Mark Foster. Board Exhibit 3, Baltimore City Police Department Report, Detective L.C. Greenhill. Thank you.
Rakesh Patel, RAHL LLC, trading as Wine Underground, 4400 Evans Chapel Road. This is a Class A marijuana and liquor license here for violation of Rule 4.01A, sales to minors on September the 15th, 2017. Violation of Rule 3.02, cooperation on September the 15th, 2017. Please come forward.
Counsel?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Judge. Good morning, Associate Commissioners. David, Mr. Winter and Bartlett LLC, representing the respondent licensee, Rakesh Patel, who is to my right, the board's left.
Good morning. Mr. Patel and Detective and Inspector, would everyone raise their right hand, please?
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do. Okay. Mr., does your client wish to admit or deny the violation?
Your Honor, it's a technical denial of liability.
Okay. That should be interesting. So may we hear from you?
Certainly. What we'd like to do is, we have no denial that these two young men were, in actuality, under the age of 21 years of age. We do have I think it's probably two, is it two
Two of
video?
them, yep.
Two short.
No, one video with
I'm sorry, one
two-
video showing two transactions, which from the security cameras at the liquor store, which we'd like to show you.
This is the
If
first
I
video.
might. Can you, let's see where we can position this.
Put it there
perhaps.
if you'd like.
How about up over here, so that all commissioners can see it?
And the officers.
The old guys with the old eyes.
Officer, you want to come down here with me, or do you don't, doesn't matter.
And could you state your name for the record, please?
Rakesh Patel.
Okay. Do you need him to spell it, Bryson? No. Okay. Thanks. So if you were going to testify, I wanted you to be on the record. So what are you showing us?
So the first victim comes in, he checks the ID to do a sale. Then the second one comes in, he has a credit card, he checks ID and makes sure the credit card belongs to him. He also offers with the ID and credit card names and stuff like that. So my clerk, what he did check the IDs, they were legit. He served them. Then what happened outside, it's state. But on our side, we did make sure there were 21. The IDs were legit. He did check them with the dates and whatnot and served them.
Okay. So maybe I'm confused.
Let me correct that. They were legit. I think what Mr. Patel is trying to say is they were counterfeit IDs, which they thought, to their perception, were of sufficient quality to appear to be authentic. As the board probably knows, and I'm sure that the police officers, investigators know, the quality of these counterfeits these days are extraordinary. And it's very difficult to come up with a mechanism that can do that. I understand there are some scanning systems now available where you can check motor vehicles throughout the United States, et cetera. They're just coming online, and I'm recommending them to some of my clients. I'm also mindful of what the status of the law is in that regard. But the reason I wanted the board to be able to see this is that I think it's an ongoing challenge for any licensee to deal with young people who have sufficient income to acquire counterfeit identification, which purports to be, and maybe to the reasonable person, would appear to be legitimate. There's no question in my mind that the attitude of a young person when approached by a police officer, certainly someone as formidable as the detective here, that they're going to, you know, provide their real ID. I don't know
I understand
whether.
that, but let me just ask Detective Gatto, can you identify yourself for the record, please?
Detective Abraham Gatto, Baltimore City Vice Sheriff.
Okay, so did you observe these false IDs as well as the real ones?
Well, when, sir, when we observed the transaction through a window that we could see through the side of the building, the gentleman walked out carrying their alcohol. As soon as they saw myself and Agent Chris Mouse, they literally slumped their shoulders, put their alcohol on the ground.
The old giveaway.
And uttered, "We're underage. We're not allowed to buy alcohol." Agent Chris Malice then met with them as far as their ID, and I went inside to try to ID the cashier, and that's where I ran into trouble.
Yeah, you and the cashier did not get it. Inspector, so did you ever get a chance to look at these IDs? Were they carrying two different kinds of IDs?
Well, what they presented to me was the real IDs. They were out-of-state IDs. I have the states here somewhere in my report.
Yeah, I saw that you had that, but you never saw the...
I did not. I asked them what IDs. I did ask the one individual what ID he showed, and he told me that one. So, you know, I can't say that they didn't show fake IDs, but they reached in their pocket, and they only had one ID when they reached in their pocket. Now, if they had two IDs in their pockets, highly unlikely, but I can't.
How old were they?
So the one was born in 97, and they were both born in 97, which will put them at 20 years old.
Do you have questions for them?
Only a couple, just, I think it's inferential from what was testified to already, but neither of you actually searched these gentlemen to see what they may have had on their person.
No,
right?
sir.
Okay. No, I understand, and I understand that you wouldn't. Again, we're not asserting that these two young men were in fact 21 years of age.
I understand.
And I, you know, can't account for what they would or wouldn't do. Mr. Levin reports to my client that he asked for identification. I think the video shows that he clearly did. I can see in both cases there was separate identification. In one case, there was both a credit card and identification. Mr. Levin may have been not telling the truth when he told my client that they appeared, that they were authentic and underage.
Is he still employed by Mr. Patel?
He's still there, and let's address that, please, Mr. Patel. Step up here. Upon receiving this notice, and even before you spoke to me, you had a discussion with Mr. Levin about his conduct on that day, did you not?
Yes.
You advised him that it was inappropriate, that he was to at all times cooperate with police or inspectors for the board or anything. Is that not correct?
Yes.
And it doesn't matter what his schedule was or things like that. What was he saying his reason was that he?
The reason was, he was saying that he did what he's supposed to do is check ID and make sure that was it. There were 21 and he served it, and he was just trying to say over and over, saying that he did his job, which while check, you know, to check
Did he-
ID and not serve anyone underage.
Did he indicate to you that he was essentially afraid?
Yeah. First time.
All right. Nobody's suggesting there.
Of whom?
I don't think it was fear of physical harm. I think that he had done something wrong, and that, you know, he didn't. He was.
Counselor, he asked me, was he under arrest? I said, sir, you're not being detained. I just need to see your identification for this investigation. And then when he didn't say, I don't have it, I'm leaving, I asked for employee records. And the other employee, who is not pertinent to this case as a violation, provided that for me. That's the only way I was able to identify this man. Otherwise, I would not have known who he was.
Okay.
Well, first off, from the standpoint of the licensee standpoint, one of the employees did what they were supposed to do, provided the appropriate information. I think the fact that this gentleman, Mr. Levin, who acted inappropriately, the fact that he asked if he was under arrest says to me something right there. There's a concern, because I don't know, I'm not aware of any situations where people have been arrested for selling to underage, at least not in this city or Baltimore County. Eastern Shore, yes.
We don't have any jurisdiction there.
I understand that.
So the record indicates that back in September of 2017, the licensee was found to have violated the sale to minor rule as well and was fined $500.
And we are mindful of the fact that unfortunately that was only 8 days after we were before this board. I will tell you that, and Mr. Patel can speak to this, but there has been a number of staff meetings. There's been a reiteration of what their duties are. There's been a reiteration about going to every extent possible to make sure that identification appears to be legitimate, not counterfeit, and it certainly shows they're of appropriate age, and also a reminder of what's necessary whenever they're confronted with an official of Baltimore City government, or which includes the police, but certainly the police or anybody, an inspector or anyone else that in an official capacity, that they are to be cooperative, and that if they don't, the punishment would be termination. We'd ask the board to take that into consideration, and I will urge my clients to try and acquire. They have a scanning system. It didn't appear that it was used that day, I would tell you from the videotape, to try and get state-of-the-art, whatever they can afford, to do that in the future. I'm not sure whether that's going to cure the problem or not. Frankly, it seems to me the state of the art is that the people in the illegal business of counterfeiting these things are usually ahead of what
that may be.
the detection equipment.
You know, we don't urge people to terminate their employees when they make mistakes, as long as they are teachable moments and that they, can learn from that and they can then know how to comply in the future. Only when people are hard-headed and refuse to learn do you sometimes have to show them the door. Anyway, commissioners, do you have questions?
No.
I do. Mr. Patel, you did appear before us, as was noted, in September of 17 on the same charge. I recall that you had testified at that time, in mitigation perhaps, that you had a scanning system,
Yes.
which Mr. Mister just mentioned, but it wasn't used in this transaction. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Anything further?
No.
Counsel, anything else?
Nothing else, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. On the basis of the materials contained in the charging documents, the proffers from counsel, the testimony received, I would find a violation of Rule 4.01A on September 15, 2017, and of Rule 3.02 on September 15, 2017. I would impose a fine of $500 as to each and give you 30 days to pay.
Oh, a little light, Judge, aren't you?
You have carte blanche.
And looking at the video, I see no proof that would convince me, anything that would convince me that the clients that the alcoholic beverages were sold to were over 21. The task force, the inspector and the lieutenant interviewed these individuals as they came out, and the documents presented to them clearly shows that they are under 21. And yes, this is a second time. It doesn't seem to me that the lesson was taught the first time. Shortly after you came before the board, the same thing reoccurred. The person who sold the alcoholic beverages didn't seem to show any remorse for what they did. In fact, they became a little hostile. And with all that in mind, I have a guilty verdict on the charges, but I would like to see the fine a lot more extensive than what was presented. I would like to see at least $1,000 second time around.
On each of the violations?
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Greenfield?
I too find a violation of 4.01A and 3.02. I will split the difference and do $750 on each. And from my vantage point, if Mr. Patel returns to this board and has another charge on sales to minor, from my standpoint, it won't end well, because you were just in front of us in September, and you claimed that you had the scanning, and then literally we're talking, I don't know, I'm trying to figure out the timeline here, but then a week or so later,
8 days.
8 days later, your own clerk doesn't use the scanning machine. And based upon your location, you know that there are a number of universities in the area. So you're a target for them. So with that, I would support a $750 on each.
All right, I'll join Commissioner Greenfield.
I'll join him also.
Okay. You have 30 days to pay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy New Year, everybody.
You too.
See you down here. I call exhibits for the record. Board Exhibit 1, Baltimore City Police Department report, Detective Gatto. Board Exhibit 2, investigation report, Agent Chris Amalis, along with 5 photos. Thank you.
Thanks, Detective.
Stephen Fortinos, Spiros, Corologos, and Eric Mathias. Alogos, Inc., trading as the Horseshoe Cayman on bar 1626-28 Thames Street. This is a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license. Here for violation of Rule 3.02, cooperation on October the 21st, 2017. Please come forward.
Counsel.
Yes, good morning. Stephen W. Fogelman on behalf of the licensee here, Mr. Eric Mathias, standing to my right.
Good morning. Would all those testifying please raise their right hand?
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Mr. Fogman, admission or denial?
A denial, thank you.
Okay. Who is going to testify for the board? Chief Inspector?
Chief Inspector Mark Fosler, Baltimore City Liquor Board. Okay, Chairman, this on October 20th.
21 or 20?
Well, it started on October 20th and ended up on.
Just wanted to make sure we were on the
Yes,
same
sir.
date.
So on the, we were out with the Social Club Task Force. On October 21st, we received a call from Southeast District to respond to a horse she came in on. And so we arrived at 12:42 a.m. At that time, Southeast District Officer Brandon Smith Saxon responded. He had responded to the location because of a confrontation between a patron and security personnel. The officer told me he requested security's identification from employee records, and that his request was refused. At that time, the licensee said that if the police had requested the employee identification from the manager, the license would have been provided. Upon our arrival, the records were provided. So based on the information provided or obtained from Officer Saxon, I issued the violation of violation of Rule 3.02 cooperation. However, I didn't personally observe what took place between the officer and the operators of the establishment.
So let me just clarify. So the police were called because there was something going on between a patron and the security guy, right?
Yes, sir.
Did that all get taken care of?
Yes, sir.
So that was resolved and the police were satisfied and they went away?
The police were still there, but it was resolved and there was no further issues.
But then we asked the security person for identification to show that he was employed by the licensee?
The police officer had asked prior to our arrival
okay.
for the information. And
who did he ask? The individual, the security guy?
Yes, sir.
And he was the one who resisted?
Yes, sir.
Okay. But later it was provided by management?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Did you have questions?
Yes, thank you. Chief Fosler, as you indicated, you were not present during the time that there was a conversation between the officer and the security guard.
I was not.
All right, and to the best of your knowledge, neither Inspector Chris Amalis or anyone else here right now before the Liquor Board was present during that conversation?
Certainly, I'll let them speak for themselves, but I don't believe that they were there for what took place.
All right, and then further, although the investigation report of the BLLC uses the word confrontation between a patron, oh, I'm sorry, no, that's the same language as the report. You had discussed a confrontation. Strike that. At this time, I have no further questions of this witness.
Okay.
At this time, I will move to dismiss the charges. You'll note that the licensee was not charged with failure to deploy or to provide employee records. That was not a charge. The charge here is non-cooperation, and it's essential for us to have the officer here to understand whether or not some kind of a discussion rises to the level of a confrontation or of non-cooperation.
Before I rule on your motion, could I just ask your client a question?
Absolutely.
Okay, so did you become involved, sir, or was it somebody else from management who became involved?
I did become involved. I was notified of the situation.
By whom?
By my manager.
Okay. And then what did you do? You approached someone then?
I was only 5 minutes away, so I came right on over, and I spoke to a sergeant that's not currently here, and he requested the records, and they were in his hand within 5 to 6 minutes tops.
And did you know why your security person resisted compliance?
I could just say he...
I mean, was there any reason for him not to admit that he worked?
He's a private investigator, and he's, I guess, what you would call an old traditional door guy. And he was good at his job, but he was a little too much difficult. So we parted ways shortly after this incident. I just didn't think he was a good fit moving forward.
Okay.
So, Your Honor, nowhere does it say in the report that the person, that the security guard was rude or anything like that, or anything to indicate some level of non-cooperation other than not showing an ID. Maryland, as you know, is not one of the 24 states with a stop and identify law. And so it literally became almost a legal discussion on, I'm a security guard with 14 years experience. I'm the guy who cards. Are you allowed to ask me for my ID?
Well, I'm hung up on a different question. So you had a manager there?
I did.
And the manager didn't provide the information?
The manager said he wasn't asked for the employee records. The conversation was between the doorman, Frank Schoberg, and Officer Brandon Saxon.
Okay.
And at that point, I just went upstairs, grabbed the records, which were locked, which Frank wouldn't have access to. And
all right. Anything further?
Just so you understand that we don't let every employee have access to the intimate details, social security numbers and home addresses and phone numbers of all the other employees. So often, in many cases, the manager and the owners are the ones who have them. So no, the doorman wouldn't have had access to those right away. Again, with 5 minutes on arrival, the records were provided.
Actually, on the basis of the testimony received, I'm going to grant the motion, and let me explain why. I'm not convinced that you can find that this independent contracting doorman is an agent or in privity with the licensee sufficiently to hold the licensee responsible for his failure of cooperation. And when the manager and the licensee were engaged, they did cooperate. So I don't think there's enough to sustain the charge, but so I'd grant the motion. And I hope all of this is cleared up and everyone is working cooperatively going forward. You haven't had a violation in 6 years, so I'm hopeful that that's a sign that things are going okay. But with respect to our staff, I want to thank them for bringing it to our attention.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Thank you.
thank you.
I call exhibits for the record. Board Exhibit 1, Investigation Report, Chief Inspector Mark Foster. Thank you.
I believe that's our docket, Mr. Page.
That's correct, Mr.
You better
Chairman.
go staunch the.
Some of the staff's already here.
Mr. Page, do you know what time is it, sir?
The board is in recess until Thursday, January the 25th, 2018, 11 a.m. I'm sorry.
What time is it now, sir?
the hour being 12:01. Greatly appreciated. I think it's safe to say that the administrative offices located at 231 East Baltimore Street are officially closed today due to a water main break. Hopefully we will reopen tomorrow morning, 8:30 a.m.